Good afternoon. I'm Ross from Coombsmith Property Accountants, and we're just going to go through an example of a rental property and what the cash flow looks like. So it's a four-bedroom home. It's $390,000. It's the first property that came up for me on my Trade Me search. So just looking at a property with reasonable cash flow and what that looks like. So inquiries over 390,000. It's a four-bedroom plus a studio on 809 square meters. Its capital value is 520,000. So it's going for a lot below its capital value. It's in Christchurch. The market rent is 600 to 850, and they're happy to sell it with guaranteed rent of 600. Let's have a bit of a look at what those sort of numbers look like, and yeah, we'll quickly go through them and we'll find the catch very quickly as well. Um, so I'll just bring across my spreadsheet. So if I put in one of these, it's an existing property and it's in Christchurch. We're hoping to get it for 390,000. So there's always some cost to buy. You're going to most likely get a valuation, maybe set up a company, building inspection, things like that. And you're most likely going to get a bank contribution through as well. So I've cancelled those two out. I always work on 100% debt to start with. So no money in. Generally, most people buy with security over their personal house or something like that. So full debt, 390,000. They're saying guaranteed rent at 600. Let's be nice and put that in for the moment. So 31,000 of rent, 8% gross yield. At this stage, 8% gross yield, we're thinking, oh, that's pretty exciting. That's actually a pretty good gross yield. Most Christchurch properties sit more like 4 or 5%, so that's a lot higher. Say that you've already got some rental properties, nobody corporate, insurance in Christchurch is high, interest rate at the moment, 7.35% is round about the 1-year rate. Got some property management, I've got some rates. I'll just go a little bit higher. I'd say maybe 2.8. Repairs and maintenance, it is an older property. It's a bit run down. It's going to need some work. We'll put 3,000 a year that it's going to need painting long term and some other things. Subscriptions, maybe you join something like your local property investor federation association. Some travel. For me, it's a trip down to Christchurch. So I'm looking 31,000 income, 41,000 out, minus $10,000. The catch with this property is it's actually a leasehold property. So it is a Christchurch property, but it is leasehold. So our ground rent, when we're glancing through, they're saying that it's a 270 a week ground lease or leasehold with 21 years to run from 2023 and right a renewal thereafter. So if it was me, I would be very careful about it and get that. If I got serious on this, I would be checking through that land lease, seeing what it's likely to go up to, what those costs are. I just see that the rates are 3,500 as well, so we'll put that in, but we'll put in that 270 a week. So I'll increase the rates to 3,500. The ground rent, 207 times 52, 14,000. Ouch. So what's happening is we've got a rent of 31,000, we've got expenses of 55, we're losing 24,000. So that is quite terrible cash flow. We would then have some chattels. It's an older property. Maybe we'd get some chattels depreciation. Maybe that's a little bit high. We would get value it in, depreciate the carpets, the curtains, the dishwasher, the stove, the heat pump, the fences, the decks, the driveways, the paths. Under old rules, end up with a huge tax loss, no tax. With interest limitation currently in play, we would not be able to claim the interest under current rules, and it looks like that's going to change, and hopefully we're back up to 60%, but let's just see how bad it is. So even though we're losing 24,000, by the time you add back the interest or can't claim the interest to 28, you actually move into a slight profit. You're losing 24,000 plus paying a little bit of tax, huge loss. So yeah, even with the interest coming back, that's not very pretty. Yeah, so what I'm thinking at the moment is that cash flow is terrible. They said 600 a week to 850. I always take that with a grain of salt. And again, if I was serious on this, I would be talking to 2 or 3 different property managers, getting idea what the demand is, how easy is it to rent that property. So maybe we could get somewhere in the middle, 750, huge gross yield of 10%. And yeah, just a little bit doubtful, but we're still looking at something like $17,000, $18,000 off loss, and we run the risk that in 2034 that ground rent goes up, so that jumps up as well. Looking at a long-term picture, so we're hoping that our 390 normally goes up to 600,000 over 10 years, being a bit conservative. Ground lease, you might find that that goes up less and you actually get less capital gains. That's one problem. The rent hopefully goes up over time, and I've got 4.5% a year. All your expenses go up, and I'm just going to alter this slightly. We're hoping that our ground rent doesn't go up. So we're hoping that's just exactly the same figure. We'll just fix that up. So we'll just make that exactly the same. So that will just be that figure, and that will be the same all the way along. We're looking at for the next 10 years to stay the same. So what we're looking at with this is we're expecting a cash loss in the first 3 years, the fourth year getting better, and then slowly turning into a cash profit. We're expecting some interest to not be allowed. We are expecting from the 1st of April 23 to not be allowed 40% or to be allowed 60%. Next year to be allowed 80% or not allowed 20. So we're looking still at a taxable loss, not paying any tax because we're not really making any money. And our big problem with this is we've got that cash flow shortfall, which is pretty common at the moment. The first 2 or 3 years are normally pretty hideous. We're looking at about $15,000 cash loss a year. So having to put in $45,000 to hold this over the first 3 years. The only reason I would buy this property being leasehold would be if the cash flow was amazing. So with this having a big loss over the first 3 years, or total over the first year, 10 years looking at being 28,000, I would not buy this property. I'd be too worried that in 10 years time that ground rent lease jumps up and we end up with a big cash flow property. I'd also be worried that we'd get a lot less capital gain. So rather than the capital gain sort of cancelling out some of that loss, us gambling on the capital gain. If we get no capital gain, or if it even goes down in value because that lease renewal gets closer and closer, we're not getting cash flow. We might not get the capital gain. Not really sure why someone would be really keen on this property. So to me, it's interesting, even with potentially a 10% gross yield, so working on a $750 a week rent, I would be worried about this property. Don't like the leasehold, don't like the unknown of what will happen in 10 years time. And hopefully that's just given you a few different things to think about. It's just an example of a rental property on the market at the moment. The sort of things that we look through, the current cash flow, what does it look like over 10 years? Would you overall buy it? What are you doing for that property? And to me, capital gain a bit iffy, negative cash flow, why would you bother? Cool. Hopefully you've enjoyed that. Look on our link tree, lots of other videos, lots of recordings of old webinars, and hopefully you enjoy your Christmas break, and hopefully we'll see you for a few videos and a few tips over Christmas and the new year, and see you back in 2024. Thanks a lot. Bye.